Hello, good evening and welcome ladies and gentlemen to another week and with it another fascinating strength-filled race in the iRacing official Porsche Cup by CONSPIT as brought to you on the premier sim racing platform available only on PC, known as iRacing and sponsored proudly by the hardware manufacturer CONSPIT. Today marks week number 4 and with it we head to Germany for the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg's Grand Prix circuit. Once a circuit which saw our drivers roar the way into a local forest, it is now a much more templated circuit. 2.84 miles in length, 16 corners as designed by Hermann Tilke, and it has a little bit of everything when it comes to a technical test of knowledge of corner design. Whether it be sweeping curbs, hairpins or direction changes, you name it, it's got it. And it's also got a few extended straights as well, which means there are plenty of opportunities to do battling, whether it be on slipstream or the brakes, and alternatively when drivers do make mistakes. But as we get set then for another Top Split broadcast in the 2025 Season 4 campaign, you're tuning in right now on this Wednesday the 8th of October 2025 in our regular 1945 Greenwich Mean Time, that's GMT, or Universal Coordinate Time UTC time slot. We have one race on our schedule today, as we always do. It's a 15 lap race due to get underway in approximately 4 minutes time, and as our drivers get set here under the brilliant German sunshine, a track temperature of what is 20 degrees centigrade, 24 degrees centigrade to say, with an ambient temperature of 20 degrees centigrade, is a circuit that is in prime conditions for going Porsche Cup racing. And without further ado, let's get to it. But as we get ready and qualifying's underway in the background, let's just remind you, of course, our schedule and how far we've come so far. Last time out, in week number 3, it was a trip down under to Australia for our first ever visit on what was Wednesday the 1st of October to the Shell V-Power Motorsport Park at the Bend. And there we got to see some absolutely superb battling in our first ever broadcasted race where we did see changeable conditions. A damp circuit that was gradually drying, and the risk was to go to the wet tyre or go to the dry. The dry tyre was the right option, and we saw a terrific battle between Linus Donovan and Corey Lazarus for victory that went the full distance, and it was Linus Donovan in the end who was able to take victory. Unfortunately, Donovan's not here today, so therefore we are going to see a new name take to the top come the end of today's broadcast, but who will it be and who will set themselves up for success when we do head to the circuit to Barcelona, Catalonia in a week's time? Well, we'll have to wait and see for next week, but talking about today, the Grand Prix layout of the circuit located at the Am Mottodrom in Hockenheim in the German state of Baden-Württemberg. Well, it's a circuit that was highly controversial when it was unveiled in 2002. Many did not like the redesign and indeed wished that we could go back to the roll into the local forest. However, it was not good for spectators, nor was it for safety, and now we definitely do have a circuit that's much better on both accounts, and over time, drivers and spectators are adapted to it. A big thank you to iRacing.com, not just their brilliant circuit simulators, but also the track mats that come with it. And as we can see here, 16 corners, plenty of medium and low speed apexes, and also a couple of fast sweeping bends. Therefore, it does mean that for our drivers here, it's going to be about getting these corners right from the outset in order to come away victorious. And qualifying well is going to be a key part, but holding your mettle and keeping your consistency is just going to be as key. We're a couple of corners bound to catch some drivers out, including Nord curve at turn number 1, where it's a very high sausage curb, and of course the stadium section of turns 11 through to 16 that complete lap through some very aggressive direction changes. But as we get ready to go racing, a quick reminder of the rules. This is an open setup series where drivers bring their own choice of setup ahead to each and every week of racing. The grid will be set via a closed qualifying session, which is currently coming to a close, and will commence via a standing start when we do go racing, as is the tradition of the iRacing Porsche Cup. Drivers shall receive a drive-through penalty if they accumulate 17 or more instant points. If they get 25, they will be disqualified. But back to circuit we go, and as we do, well, who is laying down the marker here in qualifying? Well, Corey Lazarus there, taking a very extensive run out wide from the corner, and as he brings it back together, car parking up there, and it does look at those livery, just having a little bit of an issue of load in there, albeit a very colourful base livery on the car, it must be said, and well, he's just set what has been his second flying lap, and he's going to qualify at highest and 4th place. And well, Philip Hammer's just made his way a little bit ahead as Hammer rolls his way on down, and does look as though some other liveries taking a bit of time to load, but glad they're here now. And Philip Hammer, well, he'll be looking at towards a 2nd place start with Lewis Belica looking to be the fastest driver out there in the number 1 car. In terms of the I ratings and licenses of our drivers there, well, you can definitely see with regards to who's the highest I rated versus the lowest. And well, as they all get themselves set, well, we do see Jonathan Lemerson there back on the grid after a little bit of a hiatus. He's currently your 10th fastest out there, a whole second off the overall fastest time, but I can imagine he'll be pretty happy with that given he is running the number 9 car, so he is roughly around where he is. In fact, we have seen that Matthias Hest has just demoted him down to 11th place. Beneath an absolutely splendid array of I ratings here, your I rating for this split is none other than 5,163, just shy of the 5,200 racing 25 we did have in week number 2. And of course, week number 2 being none other than the Algarve International Circuit. And we're seeing some very high strength of field so far this season, and we're only on week number 4. But the Hockenheimring, a much enjoyed circuit, indeed a very popular circuit in the iRacing service. You can understand why we are seeing so many drivers here today, as the last two drivers have just completed their final qualifying laps, and that was Lemerson putting the time in to move back into 10th. We have had an invalidated lap for Alex Pleva, and well, I think we've got one driver in the form of Elias Finoli who has not got a valid lap, but otherwise everybody else has absolutely nailed their laps, and well, we'll very shortly be making away then. And so what will be going green flag racers, we do bring you back the car numbers there up on your screen. And we see everyone on dry tyres here today. No expectations to put a wet tyre on. We're not expecting any wet weather. And so we don't need to show you the tyre choice there. But as Mehmet Berat Akus, new to the grid, this is debut in the top split broadcast, or the strength for field races it's also known. Well, we look forward to seeing what he can do from 16th, out qualifying his door number by 2 positions. It's going to be an intriguing one there. But at the very front of the field, it's looking as though it's Belica and Philip Hammer, the top 2. Well, they're exactly where they expect to be. And Tobias Olsen in 3rd place as well. 4th place, meanwhile, door number 4 has not gone to 4th place. It's gone to Corey Lazarus, number 5. And in fact, door number 4 in the form of Gareth Higgins will be starting 6th place. But every time Gareth Higgins has started outside the top 3, what has he done over the race distance? He's managed to put himself right back into the podium places. And there is a reason why he's known as Mr. Second Place. It's because he very commonly does make his way all the way into the infamous runner-up spot. But with qualifying complete, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, it's time to head to the grid and see how they all line up for this week 4 Strength for Field race for the 2025 Season 4 campaign of the iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT. So as they all head onto the grid, this is how they'll line up then for this top split race at the Hockenheimring Baden-Württemberg. On home soil, it's a German lockout on the front row. It's Luis Belica ahead of Philip Hammer, with the pole promotion eSports drive then being followed up by a further 1.5 tenths behind by Tobias Olsen for Ice Cold Racing, powered by Maxim Racing. Joining him on row number 2 will be the privateer of Corey Lazarus, and then it will be on row number 3, the Belgian driver there on his debut, Matthias Hest, in the company there of Team 75 Bernard by Sim Racing, and that will be Gareth Higgins, who lines up in 6th place. We then do have Aidan Pohl on the grid once again for Pole Sim Racing. Great to see the team out there, where the man who brought the team together and the American driver started 7th on the grid, ahead of Gabriel Para Gonzalez. New to the grid, the Venezuelan driver, and he'll be starting his journey from 8th place. We then do have starting 9th, long-term fan, as I've noticed in the Porsche Cup Discord, and happy to see him on the grid today. It's none other than Bagaran Avkul, who makes his way from Turkey onto this grid in 9th place, ahead of Jonathan Lemerson for Ice Cold Racing, powered by Maxim Racing. We then do have outside the top 10, best of the rest at 11th, it's going to be Alice Pleva, with the core team driver being joined by Oscar Bernson on the 6th row of the grid for Ice Cold Racing, powered by Maxim Racing. Then starting 13th is Nico Baumann, ahead of Matt Strand, with the Ice Cold Racing driver then being followed up by Max Andrews for Pole Sim Racing. We then have Mehmet Berat Akus started 16th, and from the Turkish driver it will then be Fabian Ming, who starts 17th for Pole Sim Racing, ahead of Sergio Paulet, who's back on the grid after a significant hiatus. We then do see starting 19th Declan Marsden ahead of Alexander Stritzenko, and in your final 2 positions of the grid, 21st and 22nd will go to Milo Wagner and Elias Finoli, the only driver there, Finoli, who did not set a time for Ice Cold Racing, powered by Maxim Racing. But that is the grid, ladies and gentlemen. They're all in position. Here come the lights. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, it's 5. And it's 5 red lights, and away we go here in Germany as Belica gets a good start. Philip Hammer, meanwhile, slow off the blocks, and Tobias Olsen tries to squeeze around the outside. Can't quite find it as they make the way into Nord Curve. Plenty of drives there. Will risk going over that apex curve high initially, but how many of them will get it right? Well, they all seem to, apart from one in the back. But one drive go very wide there. That's a lot of places lost for Nico Baumann, who brings it back together. But 3 wide there at the break, and Aidan Pohl goes around the outside of everybody. Contact. Gareth Higgins there getting collected, and multiple cars coming to the scene of the instant. It's all in tears. Oscar Bernson as well, and spat off the road. That there is one of the cars, I believe that's Milo Wagner, who's been sent wide as well. It's all gone wrong. It turns 2 and 3, but meanwhile at the front of the field, it's not gone wrong for these 3. In fact, 4, I should say, as Corey Lazarus tucking onto the back. 2 wide a bit further back, and we can see there Matthias Hest and what is Gabriel Para Gonzalez side by side out the corner. Hest on the outside there, and Gonzalez right now really trying to force his way through here to get back into 6th. He very quickly wants to make his way out the order. I think he fancies his chances, and will the door number 17 driver here definitely right now outperforming his door number, but to be fair, drivers do that, and it's always great to see when we do see some unexpected drivers right towards the front of the field. But head on through and we say hello to Maxim Racing in the YouTube chat there, the official account for the Maxim Racing team. Well, right now, Para Gonzalez Having cleared Hess, now wants to try and hunt down Aidan Pole, but that's a 1 second gap. Max Andrews, meanwhile, he's all over the back of Bugran Avkul. As we can see the very colourful livery machine. Sergio Paule side by side with Nico Baumann. And, well, this is going to be too wide, and it all goes wrong there. Contact for Sergio Paule versus Baumann. And, well, Paule comes with the worst of the two, ejected to the barrier there. And, well, I won't be surprised if that's going to be a car that's making its way to the pit lane shortly with regards to steering wheel damage. Meanwhile, Mehmet Barakas, or he right now in the very colourful purple-pink machine. He's fighting with Fabian Ming, who squeezes his way up the inside through the Sud curve, and onto lap number 2 they go. But goodness me, what an eventful opening lap it has been. Much more eventful than we've typically seen, as they now make their way down towards turn number 2 for the second time of asking. And it is still Lewis Belica ahead of Philip Hammer, with then Tobias Olsen in third. Corey Lazarus, 4th place, staying with the leaders for now, but gap is open into 7/10 from 3rd to 4th. And then we do have a 1.2 second gap to Aidan Pole. And now he's got his teeth into things, and I can imagine now he's got a bit of tyre temperature behind him. We are starting to see the number 6 driver feel a bit more comfortable with the car. He has struggled in previous weeks with tyre temperature, but now he's got it. I think you won't want to let it go. Then we see Gabriel Para-Gonzalez and Matthias Hest. They're together there, the two debutants, with 8th place going to Matt Strand at the moment, and then Bugran Avkul and Max Andrews. They round off your top 10, as we do see Nico Bauer best the rest of the 11th trying to get involved. A few tries go a bit wide there, and Bert Ackers in particular almost understeering wide out of the hairpin, the split scare hairpin, catching him out, and indeed trying to get the throttle down, but in the end the car trying to railroad onwards. It's not uncommon. In towards the left-hander at turn number 8, and through the first arena they go. It's really one wide at the moment between these drivers. As much as you can go 2-3 wide there, the circuit's got plenty of width. I think all these drivers right now just trying to push each other along as best they can and making sure not to fight too hard. Albeit there are some out of position. For example, Ellis Pleva, who's lost 6th place at the start of the race through all what happened, and the core racing team driver now would like to get back, but what damage has he got on the car? Well, Jonathan Lemerson has just found his way out the inside of Nico Baumann. Well, Baumann running very wide at turn number 13, and he's brought it back together, but it has cost him a place, and Fabian Ming now will be there to capitalise. As we look back for the rear of Baumann's car here, and you can see the damage done. The number 15 driver right now falling back into the clutches of the rest of the top 15. Well, nice for Nolly on the back of Fabian Ming there, albeit it's not too clear to see, but you will see eventually these drivers right now start to squirm a little bit closer to each other. And here comes Finoli looking up the inside, and Ming right now holding position, but I think it's going to be forced here as Ming outbrakes himself. Bauer goes deep, car goes sideways and around almost, and well, Indian Fabian Ming tapped in the rear of Baumann, and well, he decides to back off there, not to gain an advantage. He wants to race fairly, but as a result it means that Finoli has gained 2 places for the price of one driver's mistake with Alexander Strutsenko, and therefore now Nico Baumann all the way down to 15th. Strutsenko, he'll be happy with that one. Another place gain, having started in 20th place, and all he's doing to gain the places right now is staying out of trouble. Troubles finding other drivers, however. Declan Marsden definitely saw that right at the start of the race to the Welshman, as he started in 19th up to 18th, but he has not made too much more progress other than that. We have quite a damaged car on the front end at the moment. That bumper definitely has been peeled backwards in towards the radiator block. Let's come in towards the left hand at turn number 8. Well, we take a brief breather with regards to live race and take a look back at what happened at the very start. Now, this was at the beginning when the sun didn't come out. Jonathan Lemerson here had it go wrong in towards turn number 2. Under braking, tucks the inside. Got caught there side by side with the number 4 car. That was the number 4 of Gareth Higgins. And, well, after that, it really was all in pieces for several drivers. Higgins, I think, will be a bit frustrated at Lemerson's lunge to the inside. I think Lemerson went for it because he had nowhere else to really go at that point other than try and tuck it to the inside. Oscar Bernstein, meanwhile, then came into all of this. And, well, lovely run around the outside initially for his rival, but got tapped there, and in the end it sent him around and everyone scattered around, and then subsequently it all went wrong for Declan Marsden and also for Milo Wagner and Oscar Bernstein again. So nightmare moments for all the drivers involved there. We also had this happen for Sergio Paule. This was coming in towards turn number 11. Through the right-hander he went, side by side batting there, and as he came through it was a rejoin, a small rejoin for his rival, and in the end that did send Paule all the way to the barrier. A huge shunt there for such a minor bit of contact. We come back to your live racing. So back to the sunshine, and as we do, oh goodness me, Corey Lazarus there tapping the rear to Tobias Olsen, who was serving a slowdown coming out the hairpin. Now Olsen does have a black flag, so something has happened whilst we've been looking away. I wonder whether Olsen potentially cut track limits at turn 1 at Nord Curve, tried to burn the slowdown, couldn't do so, then tried to rush his way to Spitzer hairpin, didn't burn enough of the slowdown, and then was trying to serve it coming out of the hairpin. That's why Lazarus tapped on the rear, and Olsen has not served his slowdown in time. He's got a black flag, as you can see on the timing tower there, and what it means is he will need to go into the pit lane for a drive-through penalty to serve the time he should have bled, essentially. So it does mean that Corey Lazarus will get third place back, but Philip Hammer has now got a 3-second gap to Lazarus effectively once he does come into the pits. If Olsen is coming in, we presume so. The ice cold racing driver making his way around, and he should be peeling off the road. Yes, he does there. Leaves it as late as possible, but Indian has to peel on in, and he'll be very frustrated at that one as our top two is now starting to abscond with the lead. A bit further back, other drivers will gain as a result of the losses for Olsen. He will rejoin, but he will join a long way down. We have had a disqualification, the first we've seen, I believe, for what is Baumann. Now, I'm not quite sure how that's come about. We'll have to try and get an understanding of that, but we have had a disqualification for Nico Baumann. That is the black and white crossed flag there. And you can imagine it is essentially a negative take of the Scottish flag. And, well, he has definitely awarded himself that accolade. Gareth Higgins is in the pit lane with a car that's still being repaired after the lap 1 incident, which saw the car in absolute pieces. But right now, there's some big surprises out there. Olsen's still in the pit lane. In fact, I think the 7 was essentially a stop-and-go penalty, not a drive-through. It's been upgraded. I do apologise for being misinformed there. But Matthias Hest on the back of Paulo Gonzalez. And from the split-scare hairpin, we come back to the start of it, because this is Berat Akus under attack from Stutsenko, who goes up the inside. It's battle side by side. The Prism Racing machine right now will have the outside into turn number 7. It also has the better traction. So Berat Akus holding on to fight for another day so far. But as we jump aboard here with Stutsenko, he thinks about it, meaning he can't quite get the chop under braking and has to wait his turn as he goes from left into right here through turns at 7, 8 and 9. And, well, Stutsenko right now are really trying to be the aggressor here, but Berat Akus has an answer for everything that Alexander Stutsenko can throw at him. And that's definitely why these two are quite equal at the moment, fighting over 12th place. We'll see how this evolves as time goes on, but the question will be, who's going to be the first one to wilt under the pressure? Max Andrews, well, right now he's forming a little bit of a train of cars behind him. He's got Lemerson and Fenoli all queuing up, and Elias Fenoli, who started from the very back of the field in 22nd place, he's definitely now picking up a bit of the pace as we see our drivers roar the way around. Fenoli on the back of teammate Lemerson here, so as they head towards turn number 1, well, let's wait and see what's going to happen between them here. I think Fenoli's looking at this, and I wonder if they're on the radio to each other, and he might be saying, Jonathan, can you let me go? I've got the pace. I think Jonathan's saying, no, I can do it myself. And in the end, going offensive defensive there is Lemerson, making sure Fenoli can't cut to the inside, but also trying to put mental pressure on Andrews, but it compromises his exit through 2, 3, onto 4 in the long curve of 5 now. And what you can see is through the Einfahrt Parabolica curve, this is going to cause Fenoli to get a huge overspeed here initially. Will he be able to dive it to the inside? He has to worry about the ABS, because of course there is no ABS here. You are the ABS as a driver, but if you can get it done, well, Lemerson then helps him on his way, lifts off the throttle there about 25 metres before the braking zone, and says to Elias Fenoli, look, you can have it, but I will be right behind you and taking it back if you don't get the job done. And right now, Max Andrews will be looking at his rearview mirrors and thinking, right, how can I get the two of them to fight each other even more and give me an opportunity to chase after Avkul, who's literally only half a second away. Well, whilst that's playing out, on lap number 6 here, we also do have the ongoing fight for 5th as it roars its way past the static cameras. That's a grind of the wall there from both Paulo Gonzalez and Matthias Hest. I hope they did get the memo saying that they don't need to buzz that camera, because right now the sparks flying there, that doesn't help. Those barriers only slow you down, but they did not get the memo. The sparks flying was absolutely fantastic there, but it goes to show you how hard they're pushing and how much width they want to enter what is turn number 11. It is such a tricky corner. You have to go so late into the apex to get the optimum line, and you need to use every millimetre of circuit to the barrier in order to be able to take that line. Understandably, of course, they got so close there. I'm surprised the wind mirrors are still standing on the cars. But coming out of turn number 1 right now, Matthias Hess definitely chasing hard. And if anything, these two have actually caused Pole and Lazarus now to step up their pace, because the last couple of laps, Lazarus and Pole have been sleeping relatively lap time wise compared to Paulo Gonzalez and Hest, who have been lapping about 2 tenths a lap faster, and only now have Lazarus and Pole responded. So I would imagine that Lazarus and Pole are perhaps doing some tyre saving in order to give themselves better tyres towards the end of the race to go hunting and play. However, Paulo Gonzalez and Hest are definitely going to upset that rhythm, as the fact they have caught onto the back of this, and we now do have a 4-way fight for the final spot on the podium. Further back, Elias Fenoli here, looking at the inside of Max Andrews. Well, we did say he looked very quick and he was going to go for it. He's already tried to go for it, hasn't quite worked out here. But he is still waiting and watching. A bit of an update off camera, by the way. Gareth Higgins has completed the repair work on his car. He's back out there at the moment in 22nd place, which is absolutely great to hear. He is sadly 4 laps down, but to be fair to him, he's finished every race he started where it's gone wrong or right, and that is an absolutely brilliant record to have. And well, he'll be using this now as practice time for other splits later on in the week. But as they roar the way around, sparks flying there from the under trays of both Andrews and Filoli's cars as they both touch the sausage curb there. And we'll in towards turn number 11 they come. And as they do, no change now. Just Andrews under so much pressure here as they make the way on through. We're right on board the nose cone there, or the bumper, I should say, of Elias Finoli. Gets so close, almost tapping the rear of Andrews' car. And, well, I think right now if he could get any closer, he would be in the back bumper of that Porsche Cup car in front of him. He is running that aggressively in the Porsche 992, but by showing that much aggression, he really is now baring his fangs, and he wants to give it as much as he can all the way to the very end. But we're heading towards the halfway point of this race. We're now on lap number 8, so after this lap we will complete half the race distance. These laps are very quickly occurring. An average lap time of the best part of 1 minute 40, 1 minute 39 for our 2 leaders. And well, Finoli close again, different lines there. And I think Finoli trying to get these earlier apexes, trying to chop off what is the risk of the dirty air, causing understeer. But of course, getting a bit close to the back of Andrews, having to back off as they power the way on towards the split scare hairpin. Now, with regards to Andrews, he has got the toe of Bagrahan Avcor in front of him, so that is helping him a little bit on the straights. Finoli definitely does get the better corner exits initially, but the slipstream does help neutralise that advantage he has. Stutsenko under pressure from what is Fabian Ming behind, is trying to put pressure onto Mehmet Berakus in front of him. We had a bit of an incident off camera between what is Sergio Paulet and I believe none other than Declan Marsden. They're both in the pit lane. They've towed there for repair work, but before that Max Andrews still going defensive versus Linus Finoli. Finoli looking around the outside there into the first of the 2 arenas. Still can't find it, but he's trying. He's really huffing and puffing this. Jonathan Lemerson is right there with him saying, I've given you the space, you've got to get this done. And well, otherwise I think the 2 teammates will be fighting on the final couple of laps of the race unless they swap back. But in towards turn number 12 they come. Gravel up on the high line there. Nothing creeping down to the inside on that heavily cambered corner. But these drivers pushing each other. Very nice Finoli right now. What else can he do other than tap the rear of his rival? But then again, if he does that, it'll be to the steward straight away, I'd imagine, as they make the way out of turns 15 and 16. We're on board, looking back for the rear of Max Andrews' car. And right now, this fight is getting so close. And in fact, Andrews is having to drive a little bit defensively. The gap between himself and Avcor in front has now opened up to the best part of 1.2 seconds. So Andrews is having to drive off pace in order to hold on to this 9th place. Finoli wants it, but how much does he want it? Well, the answer is very much so as he tries to go around the outside. He's going to try and close the door. A bit of contact there between himself and Andrews. Andrews goes slightly sideways, but this is now going to put him on a collision course with Jonathan Lemerson, who goes battling as they power their way up towards the next heavy braking zone. Lemerson on the inside of the curve. However, is he going to be able to out-drag Andrews? You can tell that Finoli's given a bit of a toe there. It's the racing line, and therefore Andrews does back off. But Jonathan Lemerson in the end really getting on through it. It's a 2-for-1 special there for Max Sim Racing, powered by Ice Cold Racing. In the fact, Lemerson able to capitalise on the contact between Finoli and Andrews. I don't think any malice was meant there, but you could see that Finoli wanted to squeeze Andrews as much as possible to prevent him from getting a run out of turn number 2. And did it absolutely spot on. It's just unfortunate the contact between the 2 made it look messier than it was. But as they come through the SC sequence here, we need to take a look back at some months from earlier in the race, including the big incident between Declan Marsden and Sergio Paulet. Now this was the 2 of them coming out of turns 2, 3 and 4. Lost the rear there for the 21, and in the end that was Declan Marsden going on around. The car rolls backwards. Oh no, that's disastrous there for both drivers, and at that point I think he was just letting the car under its own momentum come to halt, and Sergio Paulet comes to the scene, and Declan Marsden in the end, and Okawa is really a passenger at that point, and Sergio Paulet, they made haste towards each other, and the rest is history, both in the pit lane. Milo Wagner coming back to him. Well, he had a bit of a nightmare lap number 9 as well. This was coming out of turns 15 into 16. And as he made his way out the final quarter, took way too much curb and grass. Car bounced back off the curve, back onto the tarmac, and the number 20 just slid to a halt, but he's carried on racing. Now coming back to your live racing on lap number 10 of 15, and with the laps now heading into their final third, we've got a black flag for Max Andrews. That will be for instant points, we suspect. Well, we're not 100% certain on it, so don't quote us on that, but that is definitely going to be a stop-and-go penalty that he's going to have to serve as he makes his way onwards. And right now for Max Andrews, that is going to be a very frustrating moment, because that's going to cost him a huge amount of time. However, we will see exactly where it puts him in the running order, but I suspect it's going to put him back down towards Tobias Olsen, given that Olsen has dropped all the way down to 18th place and is a whole 1.5 minutes off of the leaders, which the reality of the situation is once you have one of those stop-go penalties, you're not really going anywhere else, in fact, and it really is a huge blow to your race, one you can't really recover from when the race's length is only the best part of 25 minutes. Our drivers here all keeping their heads down and doing everything they can to extract the most out of this. Aidan Pohl is perhaps the prime example, as in fact off camera he has found his way ahead of Corey Lazarus, and it happened on the previous lap. We're going to get a quick replay to explain how he made his way through, because this is a change for the podium position. So this was coming out of turns 2, 3 and 4, and Lazarus in the end made his way over turn number 4 flat out. Ran a bit wide there. Now, he was in control. We briefly lost him and he came back, but I think he had to serve a slowdown for using all the track width there. I think the track limit's very aggressive now on the exit of turn number 4, and that would explain it. So Lazarus losing out as a result of a slight excursion wide. But look at Hest in the background. He tried to season this. He saw the door was open and in the end went all the way out the inside of Gabriel Parra Gonzalez, and that explains how they swapped places for 5th place. So a good bit of opportunism there for the Venezuelan driver. Saw an opportunity and said, I'm going to take that. Now, back to your live racing. We literally come to the point where they swapped places last time. Pohl versus Lazarus. Lazarus looking up the inside, but Aidan Pohl here outside line. He goes intentionally deep, but goes way too deep, and Corey Lazarus just cuts up the inside there and says, well, thank you, Aidan. I didn't expect that, but he'll take that, and now Aidan Pohl's over the back of him. I think Pohl's playing the game here, trying to drive as smartly as possible. Try not to fight too hard because of the risk of Hest getting close to the back of them and then potentially losing 2 places to the price of 1 fight. But with that little bit of oversteer there, he's had to correct mid-corner exit out of turn at number 8. You can see why Aidan Pohl now is under a lot of pressure and why he did not want to let Corey Lazarus just take the place and then leave the door open even more. He wanted to really manage Lazarus taking the place back off of him, so that way he didn't lose 4th place. But Hest here, I think now that he's passed Gonzalez, is feeling very confident, and in fact that confidence is shining in the all-white machine here from Porsche Motorsport as he comes charging through turn number 15. And as he exits the last 2 quarters here to go on to lap number 12, it may be a new fastest lap race for our race leader, Luis Belica. But right now, for Matthias Hest, it really is proving to be laps that are coming on leaps and bounds. He crosses the timing line, and well, he almost matches his previous best on that lap. That shows you the pace he's bringing to the table as he now puts another lap on the board. Corey Lazarus has set a personal best of 40.05, but outside the top 2, nobody has broken into the 39s so far. Well, in fact, I correct myself there because Tobias Olsen did much earlier on, but he's a lot further down the order, sadly. But staying with Matthias Hest here, what we do now as they drag race the way along. Well, building up the speed here, hence towards top gear. We'll be short gearing on these cars, given the fact we don't really have too many long straights. It's going to be Pohl going defensive. Hayes switches back to the inside here, tries to send the dummy under braking. Lazarus is there, and well, that's Pohl slowing down. Matthias Hayes there, gets out the corner. It's a brilliant bit of manoeuvring for both drivers. It's going to be too wide now, heading in towards the first stadium section. We've got Hest on the inside of 7. Does he get clearance into 8? The answer is going to be yes, no, not quite, because Aidan Pohl comes back in him immediately. Now through turn number 9 they go. It's going to be side by side in towards the S's, but this is where Hest on that outside line coming out to turn number 8 will regain the position. He does take full place, does the Turkish driver. A brilliant bit of driving there, and will had to really be smart about it. Aidan Pohl, to be fair, being very respectful with the defensive driving, but Hest called his bluff, and in the end it went all in, and well, Aidan Pohl now drops to 5th place with Gabriel Parra Gonzalez all on the back of him as well. And it's not over between these 3, and Corey Lazarus is being allowed to walk away a little bit now as we jump on board with your 6th place man in the number 17, Gabriel Parra Gonzalez. He is looking threatening here with 3 to go. We do have the battle for 8th place between Elias Fanoli and Bugrahan Avkor, which we'll come back to shortly because that has changed hands. It's gone to Fanoli now, but for now, Gonzalez not close enough. So let's come away from that and let's go to Fanoli here as he's all over the back of Matt Strand now. And in fact, Strand here holding a very quiet 7th place for so long. Son has been brought right into the topic of conversation. He's been very lonely, and now up his inside goes what is a nice Fanoli, his teammate. Meanwhile, Avkor completely outbreaks himself and lets Jonathan Lemerson on through. So it looks like the ice-cold sim racing machines all making their way up through the order and very quickly trying to chill out inside the top 10. But as they roar the way down towards turn number 6, we'll have to see what comes of it. As, oh my good lord, where on earth is Paulo Gonzalez going? You can't park there, surely. Well, he's gone straight on. He's going to have to turn that car around. That is going to put him a long way down the order as it's all happening at turn number 6. Avcol back up the inside of the Mercer under braking and trying to take the place back. We're going to have to get a replay of that when we can. That's a surprise and a huge one. Well, Avcol right now defending as much as he can, but the Mercer sweeps around the outside, takes the inside of turn number 8. And takes the place back. It was a lovely bit of work there for Jonathan Lemerson. Be fair, Bugrahan, Avcol enjoying a good fight. Two very talented drivers, and in the end, showing their talents for all of us to enjoy. Paulo Gonzalez, meanwhile, he's rejoined the race, but he's rejoined in 10th as Stratzenko is side by side here with Berat Akus as they head in towards turn 13. Well, now, which of the two drivers are going to actually be leading that battle coming from 12 into 13? It will be Stratzenko, who in the end forced Berat Akus to back off. But with that, let's cut back to what happened to Gabriel Paulo Gonzalez. Now, this was a replay only moments ago, heading down through 5 in towards 6. He was battling with Aidan Pole, but how did he end up going so deep? Went onto the braking zone, missed his braking zone entirely, locked at the front left brake and said, right, I'm getting off the brakes immediately here. This car is not stopping. I'll end up taking somebody out. So Paulo Gonzalez there missed his braking point on that inside line, carried too much speed and decided, right, I've got to go straight on. Otherwise, I'm going to cause a 2, if not a 3-car collision. So sacrificed his race for the better good of everybody else. And well, that's what I like to see. Respectful racing and knowing when you've got it wrong and seeing a door there to just let the car roll wide and not compromise his car's brakes or front tyres in the process, but of course has compromised his chances of chasing down a 3rd place finish in this race today. We are on the penultimate lap. Our race leader right now of Luis Belica is riding his way through turns 8, 9 and 10, so he's halfway through this lap already, if not almost 3/4, and it does seem as though the lead battle is stepping away into the hands of the very strong racing driver. But coming back to Alice Pleva, he's fighting here with Fabian Ming, the core team driver, looking for another place. Wants 13th, can't quite find it for now. He's tucking in close behind and, well, through the right, in towards left. It's going to be on to the brakes for number 7 driver, but it doesn't quite work out this time as that's a mistake from Fabian Ming. So it does in the end, a bit of mental pressure, and Ming completely misses the mark as he now rejoins, but he rejoins in 14th. Jonathan Lemerson, meanwhile, still fighting here with Bugrahan Avcol. On to the brakes they go. Our leaders have gone on to the final lap. We have got the white flags out to look out my commentary booth window, but goodness me, this race is flying by. But it's been absolutely brilliant racing, all up and down the running order, and nobody at any point has given us any time to breathe. Jonathan Lemerson here and Bugrahan Avcol close, but not close enough to fight coming on to this final lap. Well, we're going to have to see whether they do the dance one more time or not. Further behind, Alexander Stratzenko chasing after Paulo Gonzalez, but he does seem to be right now focusing more on rear guard action versus Berat Akus rather than trying to move forward. It's understandable there because Stratzenko and Berat Akus have been fighting since lap number 4 and they've not stopped since then. We're back to your leader. Here he is, Luis Belica, and well, right now he is in control by 4 seconds over Philip Hammer, and it really has been a race of for the leader between these two, and continues trying to deliver those laps every step of the way. Corey Lazarus a bit further back in 3rd, seems to be in control as we have briefly lost Aidan Pole, but I think he's rematerialised from the ether, which is good to hear. We wouldn't want him to retire from this race with only a lap to go. That would be heartbreak for Aidan Pole. Corey Lazarus, however, now in a very comfortable 3rd place, and we bring this home ahead of Matthias Hest at this rate. But as they go around, the big battles remaining really are between Paulo Gonzalez, Stratzenko and Berat Akus. We have lost Aidan Pole. Surely that's not a retirement on the final lap of the race. Well, if so, that's a blow. But meanwhile, talk about delivering a blow today for Luis Belica. It has been a phenomenal run here in Germany. His home circuit, he's going to be a home winner in week number 4 with a dominant drive. He takes the checker flag. Your winner by 4 seconds over fellow countryman. It's a 1-2 for Germany with Philip Hammer for Pole Promotion Esports, the runner-up. And then it will be Corey Lazarus who rounds off your top 3 there with a brilliant drive in the number 5. Head of Matthias Hest, who started 5th, finished 4th, got the job done nicely. Elias Benoli will come on through to take 5th place, having started in 22nd. What a drive from him after no valid qualifying lap Matt Strand, a quiet 6th place, having started 14th ahead of Jonathan Lemerson, with Bugrahan Avcorn his debut, finishing 8th in a fantastic effort, ahead of Gabriel Parra-Gonzalez, who will be gutted to have missed out on the podium. And then it will be Alexander Strutsenko, who rounds off your top 10, with Mehmet Berakus falling to best the rest in 11th place. Alice Blair took 12th ahead of Fabian Ming, with then Max Andrews in 14th ahead of Oscar Bernson. And then we do have a bit of time before we do get to our last couple of drivers making the way around. But give them all a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, whether they won the race or finished in the very last place, because they've all put on a brilliant effort today. Here comes Milo Wagner, who just did not have a happy day at the office here in Germany. Things did not click together, and therefore the number 20 driver will take 16th. But to be fair, given he started in 21st, it's still an improvement, but perhaps not where he wanted to be. And then we do have a bit of time before the man who did definitely seem set to challenge the podium today, your number 3 driver, Tobias Olsen. Well, it was a slowdown that became a stop and hold penalty, but for Tobias Olsen in the end, it's a 17th place, and it will not feel a happy one. It will feel a gutting one as he makes his way to the line then and completes your finishing order. As we do have confirmation that Aidan Pohl unfortunately had to retire from the race on the final lap, and in the end missed out on a top 5 finish due to a technical issue. But as the circuit falls silent from the roar of flat 6 cylinder machinery, 4 litres of course, fired by the German Mark, we do look to the race results subject to Eddie Stewart's inquiries, and here they are. So as we can see, after an absolutely brilliant 15 laps of racing here in week number 4 of the 2025 Season 4 Strength of Field or Top Split broadcast campaign for the iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT official series on the iRacing service, Lewis Bejleke taking a victory in the end in the number 1. He really was number 1 today by 4.1 seconds over Pole Promotion Esports' Philip Hammer. Hammer, to be fair, did everything right to give chase, but in the end it was a 10th or 2 a lap that was the difference between the 2 drivers, and Corey Lazarus led the best of the rest in 3rd place. A great effort from the Australian driver there, finishing in 3rd with the door number 5 car. It was a further 2 seconds back to Matthias Hest, the Belgian driver there, working hard to finish in 4th, ahead of Elias Fanoli. Fanoli then going all the way through the field for Ice Cold Racing, powered by Maxim Racing, and delivering a superb drive from 22nd to 5th. Matt Strand, 6th there, having started in 14th place. He'll be pleased with that with the Norwegian driver behind his teammate, but ahead of his other teammate, Jonathan Lemerson, who worked with him and took 7th place. Bugrahan Avcorn on his debut, the Turkish driver there, with a brilliant 8th place finish. He'll be proud of that one, fighting hard for 8th ahead of Gabriel Parra-Gonzalez, with the Venezuelan driver having delivered such a brilliant run. A small mistake under braking into turn number 6 reset him all the way to the back end of the top 10, and there he would stay on the final couple of laps. Alexander Strutsenko took the final spot inside the top 10, and it was best the rest for Mehmet Berakus, as he did in the end not quite have the pace to beat Strutsenko, but goodness me, did they have a good fight. Alex Player took 12th for core team ahead of Fabian Ming, with top 15 being completed by the pole sim racing pair of Ming and Max Andrews, and then lastly Oscar Bernson for Ice Cold Racing, powered by Maxim Racing. In 16th, it was Milo Wagner ahead of Tobias Olsen, and then we did see 2 laps down as classified Pole Sim Racing's Aidan Pohl, who will be gutted to have missed out on a top 5 finish today with that retirement right at the end. Gareth Higgins, in the end, it all went wrong on the opening lap, but to be fair, finished the race 4 laps down for Team 75 Bernard by SimRC, and completing your top 20, it was Declan Marsden with that unfortunate retirement. It was also retirements there for Sergio Paulet and Nico Baumann. So 22 starters, a grand total in the end, ladies and gentlemen, 19 finishers, of which we did have 17 on the lead lap. But a big congratulations to all the drivers who made it to the finish line, and particular special congratulations to our podium, Lewis Bejleke, Philip Hammer and Corey Lazarus. And indeed, Corey Lazarus back on the podium once again, but not a second today, instead of 3rd place. But with that, it's now time for us to get ready to wrap up. But before we do, of course, let's have a little bit of a word to tell you something about our sponsor for this series. And that, of course, is CONSPIT. If you are looking to take your sim racing to the next level, then why not consider CONSPIT? As the pro driver's choice of sim racing hardware, CONSPIT offers one of the most comprehensive lines of hardware products to sim racers around the world. Whether you're in the market for wheelbases, steering wheels, pedals, peripherals, or rigs, CONSPIT's extensive experience in the motorsport industry means every one of their products is fine-tuned for success at the highest level. But do not just take our word for it. We're brand ambassadors including 2022 Grand Prix Macau GT Cup champion Luo Kaliu, 2022 Porsche Carrera Cup Asia champion Liu Ye, 2022 Chinese Touring Car Championship champion Rodolfo Avila, and 2023 GT World Challenge Asia GT3 AM Cup Champions Climax Racing. You shall be in pole position for victory when you invest in CONSPIT's hardware. If you'd like to know more, be sure to head to conspit.com today. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, attention now turns to week number 5, because in a week's time, we make our way from Germany to Spain for the circuit to Barcelona, Catalonia. The Spanish circuit is considered to be one of the best practice and tested circuits in the world, with its variety bringing out the very best in driver and machine. But when we head there next week, what we'll see from the finest in our top split broadcast, what only time will tell when we come back to the race in action at the same time, 1945 GMT or UTC on Wednesday the 15th of October 2025. But until then, we've been the iRacing Porsche Cup by CONSPIT. I've been your host and commentator, Paul Walsh, also known as TX141 or Britain the Spit, depending on what media you follow me on. And until next time, remember to stay safe, stay well, stay smiling, and most importantly, like our drivers, ladies and gentlemen, remember to stay on track. Good night.